Okay, so we're now recording. So I just gave you guys this one-page contracts case study or sample problem to read about this painting shop, right? I just printed it so I can have it too. And now I am going to put you into groups, because what I want you to do is go through this question and with the people in the group, look at each paragraph. I mean, I'll tell you right now, every paragraph has some sort of legal rule that you would need to talk about. There is no paragraph that's just background, none of them. So what I want to know from you guys going through the paragraphs is, you know, if this was the final exam and this was part of it, what you would need to do is go through each paragraph, and I would ask you to take notes when we do our review, because you really shouldn't be, you should never just sit down and write a final like this. You should always be making an outline of what is, you know, what are the 5 questions on the bottom? So question number 1, how would we outline this? What would you say first, second, third? That's the way you want to always do a law paper. So what I want to know for each paragraph is, what are the legal rules here? Is this about offer or acceptance or consideration or intention or certainty? Is it about somebody lying, like misrepresentation? Is it about a mistake? Is it about duress or undue influence? You know, we've learned all these things. And most obviously, the focus is offer, acceptance, consideration, intention, certainty. That's the focus. So with an outline, you would want to write what is the test or the definition or additional rules. For now, I just want you to take about 5 minutes and go through it with the group, each paragraph, and what is it about. So let me put you into rooms now. Let's see. I will put you into 3 rooms in case more people come. No, I'll put you into 2 rooms. No, I'll put you into 3 rooms. Okay. Okay, we are recording again. So let me share the screen so we can talk about this. Okay, so what I had said is, and this is definitely true for your final exam, there's no way you're going to get a good grade in my class if you read it once and just start writing the answer. That's a recipe for failure. You know, what you want to do is, because there's so much information, obviously this is an open book test. So you're going to need to be ready with notes. If you just show up with my PPTs, you're going to be lost. It's just too much information. So what you got to do is you have to read the question once. Don't write anything, just, pencil on the table, read the question, just let it get into your mind. Then you read the question again, but this time you start taking notes. So this time you start taking notes on it, because you want to have a plan. This is before, sometimes the first time I read it, I will read the questions, so I know what I'm looking for. Okay, so what do we see in the questions? Well, we see this idea of, is the advertisement an offer? Okay, so that's one thing we need to think about. Then we're going to be looking at legal relationships. So we're looking at this Bill and Monica, okay? Then we're looking at Bill and Monica. Then we're looking at Alex and Leanne. Then we're looking at Barbara and Monica. We also have, what are the elements? That's like maybe a separate question. And then, could Leanne sue Monica, and Leanne's potential damages? So here there's an and, so it's 2 questions. Could Leanne sue Monica? And what are Leanne's potential damages? Okay, so we have a bunch of things now that I kind of know I'm looking for. But now I would go back to the beginning and I would start to take notes to make an outline. So let's talk about this first paragraph. What's this first paragraph about? So, Jim Pio, what's this first paragraph about?
It's about.
Just throw some legal things at me. If you were taking notes in the test and you've given yourself, 5 minutes just to note down whatever this paragraph makes you think of, what are some of the legal things that come out?
It's about an offer.
Okay, it's about an offer. Keep going.
It's about invitation to treat.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know the legal term about it, but it's about like details. Like she asked for cash. She has given the exact date of it.
Okay. The details of the offer. Okay, thanks. Tiffany, can you add any stuff to this? Like offer is a pretty big word. Is there any sort of sub things? What would you discuss when you talk about offer?
The place.
Well, that's the details, right? That's the
Okay.
details is like the place. I'm talking like big picture, sort of what is an offer. Anybody? What else could we discuss when we talk about an offer?
I have no idea.
If it's a valid offer?
Well, okay. How do we know if it's a valid offer or not?
If it's capable of acceptance.
Well, okay, but how do we know if it's capable of acceptance?
Towards the tests, there are 3 tests.
Okay, there are 3 tests.
Offer.
What's test number 1?
Reasonable person test.
Reasonable test.
Person
Reasonable person
test,
test.
and that is a subjective test. What's test number 2?
Fixed purpose test.
And that comes from the case of Skolnick, if I remember right. What's test number 3?
Lefkowitz.
Sorry?
I think it's a name for someone. Lefkowitz. Yes, sorry.
Lefkowitz, right.
Rule.
And that's the
Lefkowitz.
clear, definite, precise.
Precise.
So when you say, is the offer valid? This is what tells us if the offer is valid. I mean, this is how we know. So we have to know if the offer is valid first. Anything else we would talk about when we talk about offer? Well, there is, before the tests, we would talk about the definition. Now, this is what I'm looking for in an outline. You would give me the definition, you would say an offer has 3 tests, and you would explain each test. That's it, just explain the law. Then you would explain, sometimes it's not an offer. In that case, it is an invitation to treat. Now, when you say details of the offer, really what you're talking about is in our case. So anything else besides invitation to treat? Florian, you had mentioned, I think it was Florian, had mentioned something else.
Okay. The type of contract.
Right. So a contract could be bilateral or unilateral. Anything else that you would mention in offer? I think there's one more thing.
When the deadline of the offer, when it's closed.
Okay. I mean, that's not what I was going to say, but you could say that.
Counter offer?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Now, I would say this is everything that you could discuss in offer. And then, we start with sort of like number 1, the law. Number 2, our case. So now in our case, when I say our case, I mean this case, right? So Isaac, you have this?
Yeah.
Rooney, it's in the chat. Tell me if you need me to send it again.
Yeah, I received it. I just opened it.
Yes, you have it?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I say our case, what I mean is, our story. Now, in our story, what I would discuss is this an offer? I would look at, does it fit the definition? Does it pass the 3 tests? If it's not an offer, is it a counter offer? So does it pass the 3 tests? This details of an offer I would probably put here. Is this an offer? So like this is, let's see if it's not an offer. And obviously I am making this as sort of perfect as it can be. So this, our case, should pretty much use everything that you wrote in the law. So first you're going to tell me the law. And then everything that you told me, you are going to apply, right? Here is what we would call, I guess, the application, right? So you always want to tell me first the theory and then the application, the same way that I asked for it on your midterm. Now, obviously, if you just immediately started answering these questions, does her advertisement constitute a valid offer? You might begin by telling me, well, in this story, she said the price and she said she only takes cash, and but that's not really a legal answer because it's missing this structure. A big part of law is being able to communicate with people. And a lot of communication is about, are your thoughts organized? Are there any questions on sort of the first paragraph? So in your opinion, Harry, is this an offer? Reasonable person test is first. Please explain whether or not you think this is an offer according to the reasonable person test.
I think a reasonable person would assume that this is an offer. That if
you must say why.
Because if they took $700 on that day, then they would assume that they could receive the fine art.
And why would they assume that?
Because it's written in the offer.
Okay, so it's got to be that level of explanation. You can't just say, I think that it is. You have to add the because. So a reasonable person would think this is an offer because if they brought $700 in cash to the shop on Saturday, they would believe they could buy a painting. The only thing that would confuse me on here is this or best offer thing. That would be, to me, a little confusing for the first test. Okay, what about the fixed purpose test? Does this pass the fixed purpose test? Now you have to know what that means. Does anybody remember?
Like the final offer.
Like the final offer. Florian, tell me, does this pass the fixed purpose test?
No, that's it. It's like when you give a price and you get something in exchange. You do it.
I'm not sure what you mean when you give a price and get something in exchange. What is the fixed purpose test?
It's like you. Yeah, go ahead, Nicola. Go ahead. Sorry to cut you.
No worries. It's if the offer is only for this customer, it's made for him, only to
Okay.
him, something like this.
Okay,
So that
so
you,
yeah, it's something like that. Was it just made for this person? Was it a fixed purpose that you're making this offer to this person? Or was there something else that needs to happen? Now, let's say it's you want to buy the painting. Do you think an offer is being made to whoever reads this?
Yes.
yes.
Or is there something else that needs to happen before you could buy the painting? And I agree, it looks like if you bring $700 with a $700 cash to this address on Saturday, that's it. She didn't say anything else about we then negotiate. It kind of sounds like if you do this, you can buy the painting. There's no next step. And that's the idea of the fixed purpose test. Is there a next step? Finally, is this clear, definite, and precise? Tiffany, do you think this is clear? No, why not?
Because it's only online. It's not in the store. No one passing by will know it.
But if you read this on the internet, do you understand all the details about how to buy this painting?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the question. I mean, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's clear to everybody in the world. It's just for the person reading this, because we're subjective here. So it sounds like this is an offer. It's not an invitation to treat. Would you say this is bilateral or unilateral, Junpyo?
I think it's bilateral.
Correct. What makes it bilateral?
Because this offer is made for anyone who gets the mail.
I'm not quite sure what you mean. In that sense, I think you're saying unilateral, like the smoke ball case, right? That was an offer made to anybody in the world who gets that newspaper. And this is an offer made to anybody in the world who sees the internet. But that's not really what makes it unilateral or bilateral. Can someone tell me what's the definition of these things? What does it mean to be bilateral or unilateral? Jordan, can you tell me?
I think I'm not sure about it right now.
Okay. So who was just about to answer?
Jody.
Okay, Jody, tell me, what makes it bilateral or unilateral?
If bilateral, there are two promises between two sides, and unilateral,
and
one promise, one performance.
Okay, so in this advertisement, is Monica asking someone to perform a service?
Yes.
Like fix my toilet or teach me Chinese or paint my house or clean my bathroom, a service?
No.
No, there's no service here. Because with a service, the contract begins when you start doing the service. The moment you start teaching me Chinese or painting my house or cleaning my bathroom or digging my yard, whatever, anything, at that point we have a contract. This isn't about a service. This is about an exchange. So Monica will make a promise. If you give me this, I'll give you that. And it's just two promises. She promises you a painting, you promise her money. So it's bilateral. And that is pretty much everything. It is a bilateral offer that passes the tests because it says the price, the location, the time, how to pay, And it doesn't say who can pay. That's the only problem. So, I mean, yeah, it's not perfect, but it's close. Okay, now, paragraph 2. What are we talking about in this paragraph? Is it about offer? What's this about? Isaac.
In the first paragraph, I think we were talking about the law.
Well, the whole paper is about the law. The whole course is about the law. We're always talking about the law. What's this about? This paragraph.
Condition to acceptance.
Okay, so here we're talking about acceptance, right? Because we know there's an offer up here. This paragraph is not about, is there an offer? It's about this guy, Bill. Bill, the question is he going to accept? So when we talk about acceptance, what are we talking about? Again, we're talking about the definition. We're talking about the test. How many tests are there for acceptance? What's the test for acceptance?
2.
Just one.
Fly on the wall.
Yep, just one, just a fly on the wall test.
Oh.
So anything else we want to say about acceptance? Right, because we're talking about, before we talk about our case, we're going to talk about the law. So what else would you want to say about acceptance? Just the definition and the test? I mean, that's the most basic part.
Should we talk about the battle of forms?
I mean, you can. I would say that's definitely not here. There's nothing
Not
about Battle
related.
of the Forms here. So when I think of something like that, that's clearly not here, what I'll probably do is I'll write it at the bottom of the page just to remind myself, if I have extra time, here's something I maybe could talk about.
Mhm.
Right, this is just going to be like
Uh,
extra stuff to talk about if I have time.
I also have this, I have a question related to that, I don't know, mail rule or something like this, that when you send the mail, it would be the time. Is it applicable in acceptance?
Okay, so that's relevant because we have this word emailed, right? He emailed her. So what are we talking about when we talk about communications in the law? It could be a letter, it could be email, it could be a WeChat message. But anytime we talk about these sort of communications, now we're getting into the law again. So what are we talking about there?
Postal Rule.
Yeah, that's the postal
Postal
rule
rule.
or
Post-
the receipt theory. We'll have to talk about that here. Anything else we need to talk about here?
Mirror Rule.
Yeah. The mirror rule, because that's a really important rule with acceptance. And he broke it. Anything else? That's about it. So, okay, then let's talk about our case. In this paragraph, does it meet the fly on the wall test? Aruni, in your opinion, did Bill accept the offer based on the objective test?
At that moment, are you asking at that moment, or is he going to?
Well, yeah,
I think
at that moment when he emailed her, like he saw her advertisement on Friday, so he remembered the painting. He knows he likes it. And then at that moment, if a fly could see him, see the email, answer the email, what would the fly say? Has he accepted?
He will accept it.
So it looks like, according to the fly on the wall test, it is a good acceptance. Does it
Yes.
break the postal rule. Well, what's the postal rule for? What's the postal rule for? Caitlin or Carlotta? You guys, your camera's off. So I don't know if you're here or not.
The postal rules in order to like, oh, actually, wait, no, sorry. I thought I had an idea. Nope.
Just tell me, Caitlin, the word postal. What is that describing? Does it describe emails?
Like mail and like if things are sent or something, like the post.
Sent-
so
sent
sent
via
mail or
what?
sent.
So not email, right?
Yeah, not email. Maybe something like not digital. Something that's pen and paper.
Yes. The postal rule is only for paper letters in the mail. So it doesn't apply to this. The receipt theory applies to this, and you have to know what the receipt theory says. You know, it says they don't have a contract until she receives this email. So that's going to be important in our case. We want to know, let's see, does it pass the test? Did she receive the email yet? What about the mirror rule? Aruni, does this break the mirror rule?
No.
So according to her offer, how do you accept?
Pay 700 with cash.
Okay. That's it. That's how you accept. Is that how Bill accepted?
Oh. No, he would transfer the money.
So did he accept the offer?
No.
Wait, you asked, can he?
By emailing her saying, I'll transfer you the money, did he accept the offer so that they have a contract now?
No.
No. Right? Because there's only one way to accept this offer. You have to take cash to her business. And even more than that, it has to be on Saturday. She was clear. This is how you accept. Anything else is not acceptance. Now, if you go with 700 cash on Saturday to her business, it's reasonable for you to expect you could buy a painting. That would be reasonable. However, she didn't say anything about emails. She said, I only accept cash. Come to my shop. So does it break the mirror rule? Right, those are our questions. So we have the law, we have our case. Let's look at the next paragraph. What kind of law are we talking about here?
Contract law.
Oh, well,
The
of course we're talking about
counter offer.
contract law.
Counter offer.
Okay, counter offer, sure. Are we talking about an offer, acceptance, consideration, intention, or certainty?
Uncertainty.
Consideration.
Well, certainty would be talking about the details. Was everything clear? I don't think there's anything that's not details here. You said consideration. I mean, consideration's okay. You could say we're talking about consideration. I would say it's acceptance or consideration, you know? I think those are the two big issues here. So acceptance. Now here's what you can do on your exam. Acceptance. You never need to repeat yourself. You just say discussed above. You don't have to repeat it. If we wanted to go through consideration, that would give us, we know we have the definition. What's the test for consideration?
Is something related to valuable and adequate.
Okay.
I don't know the name. What did the parties give to each other?
Yes,
it
there is no
available?
name.
Is it-
The parties must exchange something valuable, but it doesn't have to be equal. But there is no name for this test. What else do we know about consideration?
Part payment is not a consideration. It's not a good consideration.
Okay, we know part payment is not good consideration. Yeah, anything else?
Best consideration is not consideration.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh my God. Forbearance.
Good. And last one.
Last one. $1 is not a good consideration.
Nominal means $1. So that's some of the stuff we learned. And actually, there's even more stuff if you really had time to go into it. Like, let's say we'll put it under extra stuff. For consideration, there's also, well, let me keep it up here so it's all organized together. There's also the pre-existing duty rule, right? There's also no moral consideration. But then there's also, and this is important, promissory estoppel, also called detrimental reliance. That's very important in consideration. Anything else? Well, technically, the rule of privity is also in consideration. So we have a lot of stuff in the law for consideration. Now let's talk about our case.
Moral obligation.
So Monica opens up the shop at 8 a.m. She didn't check her email. So we already know that she does not have a contract with this guy because he broke the mirror rule. But in addition to breaking the mirror rule, even if he followed the mirror rule, it doesn't matter because this is a receipt theory case because it's email and she hadn't checked her email. So that's something that it would be good for you to tell me, to recognize. So this guy, Alex, he comes into the shop, he looks around, he asks about the price. She says, of course, $700. He offers $500. She says no. She says $650. He says no, leaves the store. What is this called?
Counter over.
Yeah,
No
right.
deal.
This is called counter offer. I mean, I think this is mostly a acceptance paragraph. So let me move consideration. Well, I'll move it after. But this is counteroffer in our case. Now, here's how I would analyze this in our case. I would say Monica made the first offer. Alex rejected it. So the first offer was how much money? Jumpio, the first offer was how much money for the painting?
The first offer was 500.
No, the first offer, Monica's offer.
Oh, 700.
Correct. So 700. Alex rejected it and made a new offer. How much?
500.
Did Monica accept?
No.
She rejected it and made another new offer. How much?
650.
And did Alex reject it?
He rejected.
There is now no offer. That would be my analysis for paragraph 2. And I would move consideration to here. I think we're talking about consideration in this one. So now we have this person, Leanne, she comes into the shop. Now, why is this one about consideration?
Because
Carlotta? Sorry, yeah, Jody?
there is an exchange between two sides, the valuable things.
Correct, correct. There's an exchange, sure. So what is being exchanged? What is Monica going to give Leanne?
The painting.
I understand why you'd say that, but I think it's a little different. But okay, what is Leanne going to give Monica?
Money.
Okay, now that's true, but let's be a little more clear.
I think that Monica is giving the right to purchase the painting
The right until what time?
until 5 p.m.
Correct. That's, in this case, what Monica is really, she's taking the money. How much money is she taking?
500.
500. So what's really happening here, right, in our case, is Monica,
Took the money.
yeah, agrees to take $500 in exchange for promising not to sell to anyone else before 5 o'clock. That's really what's being exchanged at this moment in the case. Anything else we need to know here? Well,
There
she
is
wrote a
a
receipt. Yeah, we have some evidence. There's another thing that I would look at and say, oh, this might be important, which is it was for an important social event that night. To me, I would recognize that this is important because every sentence that I'm giving you in these essays has some reason. I'm telling you this because this is going to be important, but okay. Next paragraph. So now Barbara came into the office, offered $2,000 for the painting, and she worked for a big company that sold fine art. Monica agreed and sold the painting to Barbara. So what are we talking about here? What kind of law are we talking about? I mean, of course, we're talking about contracts. Is this about offer or acceptance?
How do you say? Can I say that she breached the former contract, or we are not supposed to talk about the former?
No, I think that's okay. We will talk about breach of contract. That's one thing we'll talk about here.
An
So
offer?
with breach of contract, sorry, what'd you say?
There will be an offer because Barbara came with the 2,000.
Okay, so there is a new offer, you know, by Barbara. There was an acceptance by Monica. There was consideration because they exchanged the money for the painting. Here, there's also intention, right? So I think this is also about intention. For intention, we have the definition, we have the objective test. If you want to get into the details, we also have things like the just kidding rule, intoxication, social contracts. You know, and maybe you're not going to have time to write all this stuff, and that's fine. You know, but remember, if you are writing your exam paper and you can, you know, make this kind of outline on the paper first, then even if you don't have time to talk about it, I can see that you know that this is what you were going to talk about if you had more time. And I can give you a better grade because of that. Now, what about breach of contract? What are we going to talk about for breach of contract? What else would you say?
I wanted to talk about the condition. It's like she say, okay, this is the price, exception, unless if you have.
But wait, are you talking about our case or are you talking about the law?
Ah, okay. Just from the law, she breached the contract because she, by accepting the 500.
Wait, you're talking about our case again. You're talking about the details.
Okay.
I want to know about the law.
Okay, theoretically, a breach of contract is when you fail the promise. You fail to deliver you promise.
There's 7 ways to terminate a contract. Breach of contract is one of them. That's probably where I would start. And then, yeah, sure, you can give me a definition in your own words of what's breach. That's good. What else do we need to know about breach of contract? Anybody? Tiffany, if you break a contract, what's going to happen to you?
I'm a stranger.
You're a stranger. I don't know what that means.
The condition to sue someone if for a breach of contract?
Wait, Tiffany, if you break a contract with me and I'm a lawyer, what am I going to do?
Sue me.
I'm going to sue you. And what do I want?
Damages.
Okay, so I want remedies, right? And remedies could definitely be damages. What else could they be?
Money.
Well, that's damage.
An order?
The painting?
Okay, if I want the painting, what's that called? It's not damages because damages is money. What's it called if I want the painting?
Is when you force someone to do an act.
Yeah, what's that called?
Injection and conjunction.
Injection.
What? What's it called?
I think it's, and I can spell it. I cannot say it. Injection, conjunction.
An injunction?
Injunction, yeah.
Okay, an injunction means stop.
No.
Yes.
It's when you stop to do an act or you force someone to do an act.
That is called specific performance. So specific performance is for anything unique. Remember, this is for wine, grapes, tea, paintings, songs, anything that's totally unique.
Sir, there were one case or they forced someone to do an act, but the thing was like social services. It's like you have to do something for the community. Instead of going to jail or pay, it's like community services.
Community service.
Kind of, but it can be like clean the street or throw the bin.
Yeah, that's called like community service. So, but we didn't learn a case about that.
No, I'm talking about like specific performance. I didn't know this term.
No, specific performance is only for contracts.
Okay.
What you're describing now is criminal law. And contracts is civil law. So with criminal law, certainly They could force you to do community service. It could be that you go to a retirement home and you read stories to old people, or you go to a highway and you pick up trash. There's lots and lots of things they could ask you to do. That's not about specifically performing the thing you said you would perform. So in this case, Monica said to Leanne, I will accept this money from you and I will perform this action of giving you the painting. That's what I'll do. And what, Barbara now is going to buy it. And I understand Monica did this for a good reason. Not only is it much more money, Barbara works for a big company that sells fine art. So if Barbara likes her painting, maybe this in the future could be very worth it to Monica. Maybe this was a good decision. It's okay that she broke the contract. However, Leanne is definitely going to be upset. Now, in our case, anything else first about remedies or damages? I would say there's a couple other things I would want you to know. One would be a requirement to mitigate. You're going to have to know that. Expectation losses versus reliance losses. You have to know that. I think that's all I need you to know pretty much about that. Okay, so now our case. Now in our case, we know that Barbara and Monica have a contract. But we also know that Leanne and Monica have a contract. So we know that at some point Leanne is going to sue. What I would say for this paragraph is probably just there is a valid contract between Barbara and Monica because, and then I would just say there was an offer. Who made the offer here?
Barbara.
Correct. Barbara made the offer. Barbara said, I'll give you $2,000. Did Monica accept?
Yes.
Yes. And we know that because Monica gave her the painting. And what did they exchange the painting for $2,000? Did they intend to make a contract? Yes, they were not drunk. They weren't high. They weren't just kidding. They weren't best friends. They intended to. Were the terms very clear? Yeah, it was 2,000 American US dollars for this painting. They have a contract. That's really all I would say. Because
Sir,
then, yes.
I'm a bit confused because can you go back to the that one, the case? So here the Barbara came with the $2,000, but what does that mean? Because Monica is offering for 700, so it means that Barbara already know that someone already made the contract, and then Barbara make a new offer with the higher price.
It doesn't tell us if Barbara knows that there was another person or if Barbara saw the internet advertisement. We don't know. Okay. All we know is Barbara came in and said, I'll pay $2,000 for that. That's all we know.
Okay.
So do we have anything here? Monica checked her email. She saw the messages from Bill. She wrote to say it was sold. Alex returned to the store, said he changed his mind and wanted to buy the painting, the price they had discussed before. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about in this paragraph?
Acceptance again.
I agree. We're back to acceptance. And really what we're talking about is, the receipt theory, things like the receipt theory, the mirror rule. We're also talking about counter offers. Pretty much those are the three things we're talking about here. Now, at 5:00 p.m., Leanne comes back. Now here maybe is where I would put this remedies, breach of contract and remedies stuff. I'll put it over here. And I'm writing this document nice because I'll put it up on Blackboard. Okay, so Leanne comes back. Monica says it's already sold. Leanne is really angry because she needs a painting that night. So she goes out to the next art shop on the street and buys a painting of a similar size for $3,700. Okay, so here we're definitely talking about this remedies thing. So what is Leanne going to try to sue Monica for? Carlotta, you there?
Yes.
What does Leanne want?
Leanne wants the painting, right?
Maybe. Does she care if she gets this painting?
No. She just wants one from Monica, right?
Well, I don't even know if she wants one from Monica. We just know she needs a painting for the social event. Right? I don't think she cares, who painted it or where it's from. But she definitely wants a painting, but she has a painting, right? She bought a painting at the next art shop on the street.
Yeah. Because she paid part of the money, there's damages that Monica could pay if Leanne has a receipt.
Okay, how much money did Leanne pay?
Was it? Is it 500? I don't know.
Yes. Yes, it was $500. So she actually gave $500 to Monica. So Monica can give her back the money, fine, but how much money did Leanne intend to pay for a painting?
700?
She intended to pay 700. How much did she actually pay in this story?
500.
Now here, how much did she actually pay for the painting?
3,700, but this is a different story, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. She needs a painting, right? She was promised a painting by Monica for 700. She ended up with a painting for 3,700. So what's the difference? What's she going to sue Monica for?
The 500 and the
deposit.
Well, I think you're a little
Social
confused.
event.
Leanne
The
expected to
3,000.
pay a total of $700 for a painting, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Leanne actually paid $7,000 for a painting.
Is it 2,800?
Why do you say 2,800? That 500 was just a deposit. She expected to pay that anyway. She expected to pay 700. She actually paid 3,700.
Oh, okay. Because I thought it was like the amount she had paid, which was 500, not the expected amount.
Right. So we can imagine that she goes to the store and Leanne immediately gives her back the 500. So she didn't lose that money. I'm sorry, Monica. Leanne goes to the store and Monica immediately gives her back the deposit and says, "I'm so sorry, I already sold the painting." So now Leanne didn't lose any money, but she expected to pay 700. She actually paid 3,700. So these 3,000, would you call this direct or indirect damage?
Direct.
Yes. Do you think that Leanne could sue for indirect damage?
Maybe I don't know, if she was very stressed and she could go to a doctor and tell them, oh, this having to get the painting was like caused her a lot of anxiety.
And what would that be
could
called?
Indirect damages.
What kind?
Emotional.
Yeah, they're all emotional. Oh, no, they're not all emotional. Sorry. You're right. Emotional. What we'd call that is suffering. Right? Suffering is emotional. Did Leanne have any pain, physical pain?
No.
No, so she can't sue for pain. Did Leanne miss any future opportunities? Well, I mean, if you're a good lawyer, maybe you would argue her boss was really angry at her because she was going to buy the painting King Moon, but now she has this other painting. And so her boss is angry at her, so maybe her boss won't give her a promotion. Maybe. I think it's a reasonable argument, you know?
Could she add to the direct damages, like the cost of driving to the different shops? And
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if she had to, but you know, it says here the shop was the next art shop on the street. But sure, if she had to take a taxi, definitely. One more thing is, what would Monica say? How would she defend herself here?
She hadn't accepted completely Leanne's offer.
No, she did. She took the $500. She gave Leanne a receipt. She accepted it. Harry, what do you think? What would Monica say? Is Monica, Harry, is Monica cool to pay $3,000 plus all these other indirect damages? Is Monica comfortable with that?
Probably not.
So what would Monica's argument be? Why is that number too high?
Maybe because it's unconscionable.
It's not unconscionable. Anybody have an idea? Why is this number too much money?
Because she didn't make that much in sales.
Well, but I mean, that's her own fault. She chose to break this contract. I mean, maybe she doesn't make that much, but I think this number is maybe too high, because if I was Monica or Monica's lawyer, I would say Leanne didn't do any research before she bought another painting. Did Leanne have a requirement to try to find a painting that was similar priced? Let's say, Tiffany, I go to your shop and I want to buy one of your paintings, okay? And we have the same deal. You say $700. And then I come back later in the day and you already sold it, okay? Just like this story. And I'm so angry. So I go next door to Jody's incredibly expensive art shop. Now, this is the art district. There are lots and lots of art shops around, but I'm really angry at you, Tiffany. So I go to the most expensive shop and I buy the most expensive painting, and then I sue you for the difference. Is that a reasonable thing for me to do?
No, because in law, it usually is arguing for someone who is of lesser economic or social status.
It's not about our status. It's not that you have more or less money. It's that I cannot use the law to punish people. I have a requirement to try to make my losses as small as reasonably possible. So if Leanne was in this area of the city that had lots and lots of art stores, and she could go to 3 different stores and look at the prices, and one was $3,700 and one was, you know, $2,800, and then one was $800. Why should she spend so much money? You know, remember, her boss has to pay for this painting, or her company has to pay for this painting. So we want her to be good to her company, but what's happening now is she's maybe taking advantage of her company in order to punish Monica. Does that make sense, Tiffany? So we don't want people to use the law to punish each other. Now, Tiffany, what would Monica say? I'm sorry, Leanne, I'm getting confused. What would Leanne say? Monica says you should not have spent so much money. You should have looked harder to find a cheap painting. What is Leanne going to say?
She had promised her boss, and it was her boss's order.
Got a deadline.
It's that night. I think what Leanne would say is, hey, I didn't have time to look for a cheaper painting. You promised me a painting and I needed it for tonight. So I need it. I just went to the next store and bought it. Sorry. If I had 3 days, okay, maybe I would have gone to a bunch of stores and found something cheaper. But because you broke the contract, Monica, therefore I need to find a painting right now. So I did not break my requirement to make my losses small because you didn't give me time to do that. Okay. And that would be overall the answers to everything. Are there any questions? Yep.
Yes, so no, I have a question. So this way that you applied the answer, we didn't answer like the questions above, below.
But we really did.
Yeah,
I mean,
if we did this kind of thing, it's okay. Like analyzing each paragraph and making.
No. You got to answer the questions. This is a test.
Okay.
But once you did this analysis, the answers are going to be super easy. You know, and look, obviously we spent more time than you would during the test because we're going through everything. Does Monica's advertisement constitute a valid offer? I would just take this and cut and paste it. That's the answer to question 1. You know, question 2, explain whether there's a legal relationship between Bill and Monica. Well, we know that now. You can just cut and paste. Alex and Leanne, cut and paste. It's all just cutting and pasting now.
But so, sure. I'm quite confused about this legal relationship between them. Is this like neighbor test or something, or it's just
no. Legal relationship just means, do they have a contract?
Do they have a contract?
That's all it means. Right? So do they have a contract? Barbara and Monica, yes, they do. What are the elements? You know, offer, acceptance, consideration, intention, certainty. And you would just say, either you'd explain it or you'd say, this was explained in question 1. This was explained in question 2. That's it. Okay, so I'll put this up on Blackboard so you can look over it again, but that's just a big example of contracts. Okay, let's take a break now, and then we will continue.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sure, question.
Sorry, like when we do the final exam, if you like, because like what we did right now is like, if they were to like go into a court and everything, and we like not hypothesized, but we thought of like what Monica might say to like, okay, I'm completely like, to like vouch for herself and vouch for her actions. Should we do that during the final exam, even if we don't have a question asking us to?
If you have the time, then yes. If you have the time, always kind of speak like a lawyer. You know, you're not a student writing to a teacher. You are somebody is coming to you for your legal opinion. And so you would want to say, in the case that they go to court, here's what Monica would say, and here's what Leanne would say.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, let's take a 10-minute break and then we'll come back. Get started on agency. Okay, we're recording again. So let us continue now with agency law. So last time we were talking about agency, we started out with sort of what is agency, and then we talked about powers of attorney. So we're not going to go through all of that again, but agency law, we said, is just you have two people, the agent and the principal. The agent and the principal, these two people, Jody, which one controls the other?
Sorry?
You have two people, an agent and a principal. Which one controls?
Principal controls the agent.
Good. Okay, principal controls the agent. Now we need 5 things really to make sure we have an agent. And we talked about powers of attorney last time. I don't want to talk about that again, but we ended here by talking about how do you create an agency relationship. So that's where we're going to pick up today. So we obviously know you need the principal, that's the person who's controlling, and you need the agent, that's the person who is controlled. Now, the next thing you think you need is consent. You need some kind of agreement. So let's talk about what that means, that consent. To have consent, the principal must ask the agent to do something, and the agent must agree. There has to be some kind of back and forth. It doesn't have to be super clear and direct, like, please be my agent, but there has to be some kind of consent. So let's look at a few examples. I'm your lawyer, and you got drunk at a bar with your friends, you drove home, and you were drunk, and you killed someone with your car. So you call the police, and then you call me. You tell me you only had 1 or 2 beers. So, okay, we go to the hospital together, and at the hospital, I had them give you a blood test. And actually, you lied to me. You had like 15 beers. So you were really drunk, but I didn't know that because you lied to me. So when we go to court, I argue the hospital staff were my agents, and therefore the evidence of your blood test cannot be admitted. Are the hospital staff in this case, are they my agents? What do you think, Nicola?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because they were not informed that they are your agents. They are
sure
acting on your behalf.
Sure. I never said to them, will you be my agent? Right. And the facts are the same in this case, Commonwealth v. James. Anytime you see the word Commonwealth, that means the government of a state, not the US government, but the state government. So here it's a criminal case, and the state government is suing this guy, Stephen James, because he drove home and he killed someone. And the lawyer tried to argue that the hospital staff are agents, but of course they're not. The hospital staff are not agents because they had not consented. You have to consent. You have to agree to be an agent. Okay, so that's one thing you need. You need a principal, you need an agent, and you need some kind of agreement. The next thing you need in order to have this relationship is you need some kind of control. If I say that, Jody, do you want to be my agent for business? And Jody says yes. But I tell Jody, you can't make any decisions. Anything, you have to call me and ask me. If you can't get me on the phone, then you can't make any decisions. Then is Jody really my agent? No, because he has no power. I can't control him. You know, if the principal has no control, then it doesn't make sense to be responsible for the agent. You know, I'm only responsible for you if I can tell you what to do. Now, it is possible that let's say I have a big company and I hire Jody to be my senior vice president. And I say, Jody, I have to go to Canada for the next year. You run the business. Now, I don't know what Jody is doing each day, but I did tell him what to do to run the business. So in that sense, he could be an agent. But if I have no control, then how am I responsible for you? That's like saying I'm responsible for Jody's life right now. Of course I'm not responsible for Jody's life right now. I don't know what Jody does every day. So you need some kind of control. Now, what if I have a big company in Shanghai and I have a taxi company, like a DD kind of taxi company. And you guys are all my drivers, okay? Now, Jody, you are not a driver. You own your own taxi company in Beijing. And I make a deal with Jody's company. So Jody, we make a deal to work together. And the deal is when people buy these cards, like the electronic card, they could use it for my company or your company. That's our deal. So Jordan buys a card for my company and he goes to Beijing on business. And in Beijing, he uses the card for Jody's taxi. And there's a big accident. And then Jordan sues me in Shanghai. He says, Jody was my agent. Now, Jody, do you think you're my agent?
No, because before we consent between two sides, so we are equal, right?
Right. So do I have control over, for example, how often you inspect your taxis to make sure they're safe?
No,
No, I'm in Shanghai. I run my taxi business in Shanghai my way. And I have like a partnership with you because we can use our cards at each other's companies, but I don't control how you hire drivers. I don't control how you train the drivers. I don't control how you inspect the cars. I don't control anything about your business. And therefore, you're not my agent. So this happened in a case where a person bought a flight. So my example was with taxis, but this usually happens with airplanes because airline companies often have partnerships with other airline companies. So for example, there was someone who purchased a flight on Northwest Airlines and they had an agreement with Kuwait Airways that said you could exchange tickets. So this person, Mr. Stanford, he traded tickets on Northwest for a ticket to go to Pakistan. And on the way, it was hijacked, taken to Iran, and he was killed. So his widow sued Northwest. Now, here's an interesting question. This is in the United States. He was a United States citizen. Why do you think his widow sued Northwest instead of suing Kuwait Airways?
Because firstly, her husband bought the ticket from Northwest, right?
Okay, that could be a reason, sure. First, he bought the ticket from Northwest. Any other thoughts?
Is it deep pockets?
Maybe Northwest has more money than Kuwait Airways. That could be true too.
They
I think those are
cannot
both
call
good reasons.
Kuwait
Say again?
to court because Kuwait Airlines might not show up in court.
I think that's correct. Those are the three good reasons. Good. You guys gave me the three reasons. So one, he originally bought the ticket from Northwest. Two, Northwest might have more money. Three, if you're in America, sue an American company. Kuwait Airways, probably you have to go to Kuwait to sue them. Or maybe they just won't show up in court. And then you win your case against Kuwait Airways, but so what? You're not going to get the money because they're in Kuwait. So could the widow sue Northwest? She said that Kuwait Airways is Northwest's agent. She said Northwest is the principal and Kuwait is the agent. And going back to the example we just did with taxis, is Kuwait really the agent of this principal? No, probably not. Right? Jim Pio, why not?
David.
Yeah. Well, Jim Pio first, tell me why not.
Because of the agency relationship.
Well, yeah, of course, but why isn't Kuwait an agent? Junpyo, what are the things we need to make an agent and principal relationship?
First you need principal and agent, and
Yeah.
you need mutual consent.
Okay.
And
did they consent to work together?
Not with Kuwait Airways.
No, wait, Northwest Airlines has an agreement with
Oh.
Kuwait Airways, allowing passengers to exchange tickets. They agreed to work together. What's the next one? The next thing we need?
But the plane was hijacked, so it's like the beer thing. It's similar to the case of beer one.
I don't think that's the issue. The hijackers don't have anything to do with the relationship between Northwest and Kuwait. That's what we want to know. The relationship between these two companies. Do these two companies have an agency relationship? That's all we want to know. Harry.
Yes, they do.
Wait, Jordan, what'd you say?
I said they do.
Why?
Because they have an agreement that's equally to agency also.
No, then an agreement just might be a contract.
I think you are looking for about the control, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, but I also have a question. Even if Northwest, there is no control over Kuwait Airlines operation, should not they at least have some kind of, I don't know, reliance over this? I mean,
well, think of my example with Jody with the taxis. I have a taxi business in Shanghai and he has a taxi business in Beijing. And we have a contract, we have an agreement that if you buy my card in Shanghai for taxi rides, you can use my card in Beijing. And if you buy his card in Beijing, you can use it in Shanghai. Should I have some sort of reliance over him?
Yeah, I mean, you should at least know how he operates, if he's reliable, if his company is good, this kind of thing, you know, because...
Okay, that makes sense. Because I am allowing my customers to take his taxis.
Yes, exactly.
So that there's an implication there that it implies I'm selling a card for his taxis, therefore it implies I should know his taxis are good.
Yeah, don't you have this kind of duty?
Maybe. But Kuwait Airways, their airplanes work okay.
Okay, yeah, I see.
There's nothing wrong with their airplanes. There's nothing wrong with their pilots. This would be like if you took Jody's taxi in Beijing and then someone with a knife grabbed the driver and threw him out and jumped in the car and stole the car. I didn't know that was going to happen. There's no way I could have predicted that.
The insurance doesn't cover it at all.
Well, I think the reasons are like we said before. It's not that insurance doesn't cover it at all. It's not really about insurance. She sued Northwest because she wants satisfaction. Her husband is dead now. She doesn't just want the insurance money. She wants someone to pay. Like when I say pay, I don't just mean money. I mean, she wants revenge. She's angry. So she's suing somebody. You know, that happens a lot. But I hope you guys understand. The point is Northwest could not control Kuwait Airways. Like Nicola said, and that's a very good point, Northwest should make sure that Kuwait Airways do have safe airplanes and safe pilots because they're allowing their customers to fly on Kuwait Airways. But that doesn't mean they control Kuwait Airways. If I'm allowed to inspect Jody's taxis to make sure they're up to my standard, that still doesn't mean I control Jody's taxis. So we do need this level of control. The last thing we need is what's called the fiduciary relationship. And that is this high duty of care, a relationship with a very high level of trust. Agents have a fiduciary duty. And all this means it's not It's a complicated word, but it's not a complicated definition. The definition is, the definition is high duty of care. That's all it is. You know, it is technically, this is the definition, the utmost trust and confidence, but it's like, you know, a doctor, a lawyer, a financial advisor, a bus driver. It's that kind of level, that really high level. So now how do you create this kind of relationship? Let's say that I want to be my agent. Carlotta, you're my agent. I want Carlotta to be my agent. Now, how do I make this happen? Let's say that Carlotta, I have a business in Shanghai, but of course I'm not in Shanghai right now. I'm in America and I can't get back. And let's say that you're in Shanghai. So I want you to do some business for me. Okay, I have a bunch of different corporate clients and we can still import and export stuff and I want you to handle this. Now, how do I create this relationship? There are 5 ways. So number 1, let's go through these. Number 1, express. This is, and here are the 2 keywords, direct and clear. This is where I say, Carlotta, I want you to be my agent for this business. And you say, okay, David, I'm your agent. Very direct, very clear. That's called express. Express in the law always means, express doesn't mean fast in the law. Express means clear. And number 2 is implied. It's clear that I want Carlotta to be my agent, but it's not direct. Not direct, but clear. So what does that mean? Not direct, but clear. Let's say that I have a business in Shanghai and I sell, I'll sell paint, okay? And I sell paint for artists. And Carlotta, we're good friends and you know that I keep all the paint in a warehouse. I have like a little storage area in Shanghai and you have the key. And I say, hey, Carlotta, I need you to deliver 100 boxes or like, you know, get someone to deliver 100 boxes of the paint to Isaac's company because I made a contract with him. So I just need you to do that. And then all the rest of the paint, I need you to do your best to sell that because I don't know when I can come back to Shanghai and the paint might go bad if we just leave it there in the winter. And Carlotta says, okay. Now, Carlotta, did I say I want you to be my agent? Did I say that sentence?
No.
No. Are you my agent?
No.
You are.
But
You are my agent. I didn't expressly say you are my agent, but it's clear from my actions that I want you to do business on my behalf. I want you to do business for me, right? I told you that. I told you I want you to go to this storage warehouse and get the boxes and bring them to Isaac and then sell the rest of the paint. I told you I want you to do business for me. But I didn't use the word agent. But we've seen this before in the law, that it doesn't matter what you say, it matters what you do. Now, Carlotta, because you are doing business for me, do I need to pay you? I never said you were my agent.
Yes.
Yes, because you are my agent, right? This is the reason that we need a rule like this. Because if we only have an express agreement, what if I want you to do business for me, but I don't say you're my agent, and then you go out and you do so much business for me, you spend all of your time, you make so much money for me, and I don't give you anything. That's not fair. So we definitely want to have this idea that if it's clear from my actions, then you are my agent. Okay, so those are the first 2, express and implied. Both of these are clear, so both of them are clear, except an express is also direct. It's direct and clear. Implied is clear, but not direct. A parent agreement. A parent agreement is kind of interesting. That is not clear and it's not direct. In an apparent agreement, it is apparent that you are my agent, but actually you're not. Let's say that, Carlotta, you know that I sell paint in Shanghai, and I'm in America. Now, without telling me, you are talking to Aruni, and Aruni has a store in Shanghai that does art. And so, Carlotta, you make a contract to sell 100 boxes of my paint to Aruni. Now, Carlotta, did I ask you to do that?
No.
No. You just did it. You just did it on your own. Did Aruni know that you are not my agent? Did she know that?
No.
What does she think?
Well, she probably thinks it's like your things are mine. Like I'm just individually doing it.
Could be. Maybe she thinks it's your paint. Maybe she knows it's David's paint, but she thinks we're partners. Maybe she thinks you're my agent. We don't know. But does she believe that the contract between you and her is a good contract?
Yes.
Therefore, it is. Now, what if I find out and I'm like, oh my God, Carlotta, I can't believe you did that. I'm so angry. Do I still have to sell the paint to Aruni?
Yes.
Yes, because she's the victim. Right now, I'm a little bit of a victim, but not like she is. She's a real victim here because she had no idea. And if you, the rule is here, if you act like an agent, you are. So a parent agreement, like I said, it's a little confusing, but if a customer believes that someone presented a contract on company stationery is authorized to sign that contract, even if the employee does not have the authority to enter into contracts, the company will be legally bound by that contract. So there was a famous case that I'll tell you about where there was a scientific company. They made science stuff. And they wanted to know if this was, they made a new invention. It was like a, I don't know, it was a little like a pipe or something. And they wanted to know if it was okay quality. So they sent a letter to this organization. And let's say that Carlotta, we'll go back to Carlotta. Carlotta, you work for a licensing company. Okay, this company gives government licenses to companies to allow them to sell their products, to make your company make sure they're safe. So I have this new product and I send a letter to your company, Carlotta. Dear company, I want to make sure my product is safe so I can sell it on Amazon. Now, Carlotta, you think it's safe. And actually though, you're an intern. But you take you don't even work there. You're an intern there, but you take some of the company stationery, the paper that has the beautiful company seal on top, and you put it in the typewriter and you type, you know, I approve this invention. It is good. You can sell it on Amazon. Signed, Carlotta. And I get that letter in the mail. Now, Carlotta, do I think this is from the company?
Yes.
Even though it's not from the company, it's just from you.
It was sent maybe from the location of the company or something.
It was sent on the company paper with a company envelope from the company to me.
Yes, so you think it's from the company, right?
And therefore it is. Because you acted with apparent authority. Your authority just looks real. It's not real, but it appears to be real. And because you did that, it legally binds the company, the principal. So the case I was just describing is called, you don't have to know this, but it's called Hydra level. And it's the same facts.
Sir, I have a question about this with apparent authority. Sometimes I receive like email from Apple telling me to change your password, or sometimes from PayPal asking me to change my password, but it's from their website. Is it from them or what?
Oh, well, there's lots and lots of spam emails, especially from Apple and PayPal. I mean, I just delete those immediately. I wouldn't open any of those. So no, that's not apparent authority, that's fraud.
Okay.
In my example, Carlotta is an intern at the company. You know, but let's say I make a new invention and I get an email from Tiffany. She's not from this company, she's just a person, and she just sends me a letter or an email that says, David, I approve your invention. That doesn't mean anything. I have no reason to believe that's from her. Now, I understand with Apple or PayPal, somebody is pretending. You know, they're using fake email addresses, they're lying, but they're actually committing fraud. If Carlotta knew that this was dangerous and she approved it anyway, that could be fraud also. You know, but in the actual case of Hydra Level, what happened is this company, Hydra Level, the defendant, they made a safety device for water boilers. That's what they invented. They sent a letter to the plaintiff, this American Society of Mechanical Engineers, because they wanted to know, does this device meet legal codes? Because the plaintiff has a lot of influence on whether or not these devices meet the codes. Now, this guy, Mr. Harden, he worked for the American Society and he sent an unofficial response, but he sent it on the company paper saying the device did not meet the codes. And then after this, of course, many people stopped buying it. So the defendant sued the plaintiff and the plaintiff said, Mr. Harden is not our agent. And what the court said is, look, Mr. Harden is your agent, even though you didn't tell him he could write this letter, because he wrote it. He wrote the letter, it affected the company, and the company believed that he was the agent.
Sir, for the final exam, will we have like the whole day to do it on Blackboard, or is it only during class time?
I'm not sure yet. I would usually give you guys the whole day or two and just make it, but I'll still make it a 3-hour exam, but you can start it and stop it whenever you want.
David,
I think that's easier. Yeah.
Isn't it the plaintiff that sued the defendant? How can the defendant sue the plaintiff?
Well, when this went up to Supreme Court, the sides switched.
Yes.
I have a question, and because also in my midterm, I used this. So, like for example, for this one, they sue him, but then can he sue the person himself, and then after the court, if it go in the upper level, they just join. So it's like, okay, you sue me, I'm vicariously responsible, but then I will sue the person who actually made the mistake, and then they will join it. So if you say, ask me, for example, I need to pay 1,000, okay, right? I sue him then. So he will pay, for example, for me and you.
So are you suggesting that Hydra Level could sue two people? They could sue the American Society and they could sue Mr. Harden. And then the court would take these two and put them together?
They will join the case.
Yes, they will.
So at the end of the day, the person who made the mistake will pay all of the money, even though at the beginning I took the responsibility. But then I sue him with this.
I'm confused with the I and he. You're using a lot of pronouns. I don't know who you're talking about.
Okay, the boss, the company will sue the negligent person.
You're saying the American Society of Mechanical Engineers would sue Mr. Harden?
Yeah.
Sure, they could sue him. At the beginning, if I represent this company, I would sue everybody I could. So I would certainly try to sue Mr. Harden. I would also try to sue the American Society.
And who will decide who is
the judge will decide.
Okay.
The judge can remove people or join people or anything like that.
Okay.
So apparent agreement, this is the idea that if a third party reasonably believes from the principal's conduct that the principal granted such power to the agent, then the agent has become or then the third party has become an agent.
But David, sorry to interrupt you again, but this is not like a vicarious liability case because he's the employee of the company.
It's not a vicarious liability case. They could have sued Mr. Harden for vicarious, or they could have sued the company for vicarious liability. They could have. But
Yeah.
what the company said is Mr. Harden is not our agent. That's what the company's defense was. They said he's not an agent. So you could have sued the company, or Hydro Level could have sued the company for vicarious liability with Mr. Harden if, and only if, this was a tort.
Ah, I see.
Also, you say something important. You say he's an agent. To sue someone for vicarious liability, he has to be an employee.
No, and you can, just like I said before, what if I have a big company in Shanghai and Jody is my senior vice president and I let him do all kinds of things for my company? He's an agent and he's an employee. Lots and lots of agents are employees.
Okay.
Usually only the high level ones. Managers, senior vice presidents, directors, they're agents because they could go out, let's say that Jody is a vice president of my company. If he goes out today and he hires Jordan, does the company have to pay for this? Does Jordan work for the company? Yeah, because Jody, as the senior vice president, he has the power to do that. Jody is not hiring Jordan to work for Jody's company. He's hiring him to work for my company, but Jody has the power to do that. He can make contracts that bind me because he is me. He is my agent for the purpose of making contracts. Ratification is the next one. And this is simple. This just means to agree after. So let's go back to my example with Carlotta. So I say, Carlotta, I want you to, or I don't say anything. Carlotta, we're just friends, and you know that I have this paint in a warehouse. And you go out and you make a deal with Aruni and you sell her 100 boxes of paint. And then you call me and you say, David, don't be angry, but I know you're not in China and I sold 100 boxes of paint to Aruni. And I say, angry, I'm thrilled. I'm really happy. Thank you. Now, Carlotta, are you my agent?
Yes.
By ratification. I have ratified. I have agreed afterwards. And because I agreed afterwards, do I, Carlotta, need to pay you for the profit you made me on this sale?
Yes.
Yes, because you're my agent and agents get paid. It doesn't matter if we discussed it or not. Agents always get paid. Has to be reasonable. And the last method of becoming an agent. Let's say that, Carlotta, again, I'm in America, and one day you're walking by the warehouse and you decide to go in and check it out. And you go in and you discover a pipe broke and there's water all over the floor. And you know that water will damage my paint. And you're like, oh my God. So you try to call me, but I don't answer the phone. You WeChat me, I don't answer. You email me, give it 5 hours, I don't write back. You don't know what to do. You're really like freaking out. So you call Aruni and you say, listen, Aruni, I'll sell you all of David's paint. I need to get rid of it for half price. And Aruni says, great, sure. And she buys it all. Now, you tell me this, Carlotta, and I'm like, you what? You sold my paint for half price? Carlotta, I'm going to sue you. Can I sue you?
Not anymore.
Why?
Because you already accepted me as an agent.
No. I didn't want you to do this.
Oh,
this is a new story.
Yeah, but before you said that you were happy that I sold it to Aruni.
No, this is a new story.
Oh, okay. Yes, I think so.
I can't sue you. In fact, I have to pay you. Because you have become an agent by necessity. So here's what happens. The principal's property was entrusted to the agent. So I said, Carlotta, you have the key to my warehouse. Maybe once in a while, go and check it out. You have the ability. And, you know, obviously if you break, let's say Carlotta, you secretly break into my apartment. Okay, you're a thief and you break into my apartment. You knock down the door and then you see a pipe broke and there's water all over the floor and you sell all my furniture to a Rooney. Are you my agent?
No.
No, you're a criminal who broke into my apartment. You can't break into somebody's apartment, right? You're a burglar. But if I gave you the keys and said, please check it out sometimes, then I have trusted you. So number one, I trusted you with this stuff. Number two, there's some kind of emergency that threatens the property. In this case, it was a broken pipe. It's necessary to act in my interest. If you don't act, I mean, Carlotta, you don't have to do anything. I'll lose all of the paint. I won't make any money. And this is really critical, you could not communicate with the principal and you tried. Right? Because if there was all this water damage and you sold the paint and then you WeChatted me and I just immediately answered and said, don't sell the paint. Well, come on, you could have asked me. But if you tried to get in touch with me and you couldn't, really, I shouldn't be angry. Carlotta, why should I not be angry?
Because I intended to try and tell you, but you wouldn't answer.
And therefore, did I lose money because of your actions?
The paint was going to be spoiled, right? So
yes,
there was a gain more than a loss.
Correct. Right? There's, you know, it's not as much as I wanted to make, but if you did not act, I would have lost it all. So you have become an agent by necessity. So these are the ways of creating an agency relationship. I tell you, and you agree, that's clear and direct. I tell you I want you to help me, but I don't say the word agent. That's clear, but it's not really direct. You act like my agent. That's apparent. I agree afterwards. That's ratification. Or it's necessary for you to act like my agent in order to help me. That's a necessity. My grandmother passed away and she left me her home. And I'm going to sell the house and its contents at auction. So I hire Tom as my agent to do this, and he in turn hires an auctioneer. He advertises the auction, he sets up a tent, he handles all the aspects to make it successful. And when it's all over, I refuse to pay his bill because I say that I never specifically authorized him to rent a tent or to hire an auctioneer, and I refuse to pay for these expenses. Do I have to pay him back? Harry, what do you think?
I think maybe not, because Tom, the auctioneer is Tom's agent. It's not your agent.
Okay. Isaac, do you agree?
I think that's a valid point, but as soon as Tom became his agent, I feel like he was given the authority to do whatever he needed to do to make the auction work. So,
Harry, what do you think of that point?
Yeah, I mean, that could also be possible as well.
How did Tom become my agent, Isaac? We have 5 possibilities, right? Express, implied, ratification, necessity, and apparent.
right. Well, it says you hired him as your agent.
Mm-hmm. Which one is that?
That's express.
Yes. So expressly, I said, Tom, I want to hire you to be my agent. Now, he has certain rights, right? I control him, but he has certain rights. What did I ask him to do? I asked him to sell the house and its contents at auction. This is what I told him to do. Does he have the authority to do this? Sure, because I told him to do this. And if he felt that this is what he needed to do, then you are correct, Isaac, that he had the right to do that. Okay. Types of agents, I don't really care about that. I'm not going to ask you this on the final, just so you know, but there's 3 types of agents. Remember, I always said if you see the word special, that means very narrow. Special always is very, very narrow, very limited. So a special agent is very limited. Tom, for example, in that example, was a special agent. He has the authority to just do one thing, sell the house. That's it. He doesn't have the authority to then invest the money. But when I said Jody is my senior vice president, he can run the business. Well, that's very general, right? He has some authority. It's limited. He doesn't have any authority over where my daughter goes to school or anything, how I invest my money, but he has, limited authority over this business for a continuous period of time. Universal agents, that's very much like when we talked about a power of attorney. That's just, you can do whatever. Just handle my affairs. Handle everything. If my daughter needs money, you can decide if she gets the money. I mean, this is the same as a power of attorney. You can decide exactly how much power you want to give someone. But in China, you're definitely going to have to use agents a lot of times. So now let's talk a little about. Yeah.
May I ask a question about the broad authority? If like someone inherits a company, and then they're not old enough yet, would that be like they have an agent to help with the inheritance?
So yes, although I wouldn't use the word help. Let's say that I have a child. Let's say that Nicola is my son, and he's currently 15. So he's too young to run the company, but I leave the company to my 15-year-old son, Nicola. Well, he can't do anything. It's not like the court will hire you to help him. He can't touch it, not until he's 18. But the court could hire you to be the agent that takes care of the company. You're not helping him, though. He can't touch it. He can't do anything. He can't make any decisions. He can't give you advice. He has nothing to do with it until he's 18. But yes, you would be an agent hired by the court. And we talked about this before. I said, what if in an example of contracts, if I made a contract with someone to buy all of the tomatoes on their land, and then you refuse to sell me your tomatoes, and I say I want specific performance, and I win, but you refuse to give me the tomatoes, the court can appoint an agent to hire people to go and pick all the tomatoes and clean them and package them and deliver them to me. The court definitely has the power to hire agents. Okay, we are now at 2.5 hours, and we're at the next part, which is duties. But I think we can stop there for today. I don't think there's a need for us to go overtime because we're making fine time. Let me stop sharing for a minute. Okay, I'm sorry, I still don't have your grades. I've just been overwhelmed, but I will get them to you shortly. And that's it. You don't need to start studying for the final yet. So any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So like when we're talking about like emergencies with your like agents, what happens if you have an agent, like, so like with the paint thing, so your agent is in charge in like he like takes care of your property, so like if you're selling your paints and everything, what if like the agent doesn't know that the warehouse is like I don't like water, like the pipe broke, what if the agent didn't know that the pipe broke and the property is all damaged? Can the principal sue the agent for property damage, or is that just?
So let's say, just so I understand the example, I have this warehouse full of paint, and Carlotta is my agent. She sells paint for me. And when I have a contract, I call her and she goes to the warehouse and gets the boxes of paint and delivers it. And sometimes maybe she even makes contracts and delivers it. Well, it turns out that a pipe breaks in the warehouse, but Carlotta didn't know. And then the paint is damaged and you're asking, could I sue Carlotta? Is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yeah.
So the question then would be, so what I'd be suing Carlotta for is negligence, right? She was careless. And the question would be, did she have a responsibility to look at the paint, or was she only going there when she needed to get the paint? Because if she's only going there to get it, then she has no responsibility to take care of the warehouse. She has no responsibility to make sure anything is in good condition, unless she agreed to do that. If you're a salesperson for a company, your job is to sell the goods. Your job is not to take care of the goods. You know, there are lots of companies you might sell things for, and it's not your fault if one of these things got damaged at a warehouse. That would be unfair to the salespeople, because then they would have a responsibility every time they wanted to sell something, every week or something, they need to go check the warehouse to make sure it's safe. And then if it's not safe, they have to call the owner. That's much too much responsibility to give to salespeople. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that answers it. Thanks.
Okay, good. So we'll stop there for today. I would like to give you guys something to do over the week, though. And so what I'm going to give you is, rather than just have homework questions or something, I'm going to give you a case study that I'll put up, and I'll send you guys a WeChat when I've sent it. But it'll be a case study based in agency, so we can go over it, you know, contracts and agency. So I'll give you that very soon. And then just like we did today, we won't spend as much time, but next class we'll start, hopefully each class will start with a sort of real life example. So I'll send you a WeChat when I have that up. It's not graded, so don't worry about that. Okay, I will see you guys next week.
Back to you, right?
Sorry?
We have to answer like quiz and send it back to you or not?
No, we'll talk about it in class.
Thank you.
Okay, and Jody is now the host. Okay, see you guys.
Bye.
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 Bye.